Sorry.
You made her run.
I know, September 10th, 2018, Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. If everyone would please stand and pay respects to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The Secretary, note the roll, please.
Noted.
Okay, have a motion to approve this evening's agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Moving on to item 5, which is the approval of the minutes from August the 13th. Any changes, modifications? If none, I'll look for a motion.
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Move and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to item number 6, which is public comments for items not on this evening's agenda. If there's anyone from the public who is not here for the Grace Premier Senior Living Project. Seeing none, we will move on to our regular business. And for that, I will turn the chairmanship over to Mr. Corey Bailey.
Thank you.
I will recuse myself.
And also for this, since I sat on the Planning Commission, I must recruit myself. And I believe we have some alternates that are coming up. You can sit wherever you want. Here's one for you if you want this one.
Just gonna. Oh, nice. I knew Tanya was coming, so she needed to sign in there, and you're all set.
Okay, for number 8, ZBA 010.18, parcel 0435300015, applicant Conscious Senior Living Properties 2, LLC, doing business as Grace Premier Senior Living, owner Keith M. Ferguson, 845 Manitou Land, Lake Orion, Michigan. Proposed construction of a single-story, 63-unit senior living community, providing opportunities for senior-assisted and memory care living. The proposed development is comprised of 2 parcels, which are located in both Orion and Oxford Townships. Approval of this application, as submitted, would require a side yard setback, dimensional variance, and easement width along the north property line, according to zoning ordinance 67A, Article 5.14, convalescent or nursing home, and Article 11.3, design and construction standards. And just so everybody's aware, the way this proceeding is going to go is we're going to start off with an applicant statement. We will then move to open public hearings. We will entertain comments and questions from the public. We will then close the public hearing. We will then take building administrators' comments, board members' questions and comments. Number 7, we will go through the finding of facts according to Article 17, Section 17.8 variances, standards. Number 8, we will then take a motion. Board members will discuss and comment, and finally a vote. Is the applicant present?
We are. Good evening, everybody. I am Clark Harris, and my partner David Fulkerson from the Grace Premier Assisted Living, 985 North Lapeer Road. I want to thank you for your time tonight. I'm sure everybody wants to get home to watch the football game tonight.
Is it a football game?
Yeah, Lions home opener. So as you went through, Corey, this is a unique development of senior assisted living that's in 2 townships. We've been through some zoning, rezoning of both of these parcels, both in Lake Orion and Oxford to this point, and have the appropriate zoning for them. The site plans that have been submitted have significant enhancements that have been done to the Manitou Lane that would benefit the community as well as our center that we're proposing to build. We are asking for this board to grant us 2 variances so that this can be successful. The first would be that we would ask you to give us a variance on our setback. And it's due to the fact that this is a very unique parcel in Oxford that is here to the north side. It's a unique parcel that regardless if we put something there or not, this is undeveloped property currently, it would need to have some type of variance for anything to go in there. And the way it is set today is that we would need a 75-foot setback, and we're asking for a variance of approximately 2 inches. We would be proposing a 74.83 setback in that parcel. And by default, the other variance that we would be asking you to grant us is for the ingress and egress of the parcel, that it be allowed to be handled from a private road versus going to a county road such as like M24, which we really don't think would be beneficial to serving the community to try and get it to go on M24 because traffic flows and that. So we would be asking for that variance kind of by default, just by the positioning of the piece there. We have taken a look. We made some adjustments in our plans that were submitted, and we adjusted the building location to make this variance that we're asking for the smallest possible variance that we could, at least that we believe that we could, and still make the project economically feasible for us to come in and develop it. So with that, we would ask you to grant us those 2 variances in your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any comments or questions from the public?
I'd just like to say...
Please come up to the podium and give your name and address.
My name is Denise Murray. I live on Manitou Lane, but I really support that variance of not having the entrance on Lapeer Road because you have the street, and then if you had an entrance, it would be 2 back-to-back, so it would create a lot of congestion, and we need to have that road anyways a little more developed, so I really support that. I think that makes the most logical sense, so, from just a traffic point of view. Okay, because there's buses that stop there and everything, so it would make sense.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other comments or questions from the public? Okay, with that, we will close the public hearing and open it up to building administrator comments. And I believe we have a representative from the Planning Commission here tonight? Yes, no?
Planner. The planner.
The planner? Okay. Sorry?
Hi.
Yes.
Since he's here. Take that room.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, so we evaluated the variances, and I just want to correct Clark really quick. The variance is actually for 74.83 feet. It's for almost the full distance of the setback there because they are only less than an inch in from where the setback begins. So it would go 70 feet into the building. So yes, the first variance is for the setback distance to go from 75 feet down to 0.17 feet. And it is our, so a couple of comments. You received in your packet information about the easement being adjusted. The township requires a 60-foot private easement width, and it previously was set at 66 feet. So they submitted paperwork that that their attorney and the owner of which owner it is. They submitted legal documents that said that the easement was going to be going down to 60 feet, which is in compliance with the county. That has not been reviewed by the township attorney yet, and so we deferred that the legality of that document to our township attorney. Just for the record to say that. But I will say that you could say that the granting of this variance is contingent on the adjustment and recording of that in the deed. In addition, we do have concerns about how the building is placed, that the building is placed right up to the end of that easement there, to the beginning of that easement, actually. So looking at your map of where the driveway comes out onto Manitou Lane, there is concern on our part that initially when we looked at it, there's concern that there isn't enough visibility looking up Manitou Lane for the road, for the driveway coming out, and for anyone turning out. But when you evaluate that, you consider that the cars will most likely be turning to the right towards Lapeer Road. So the oncoming traffic will be the ones that will need the increased visibility, and that can be managed through either increased signage that says, driveway or cars entering, or yield, or speed bumps, or there are traffic calming tools that can be used if you find that necessary. So that was a concern of ours that I outlined in the review for that variance. And I know that the applicants talked about in the Planning Commission meeting about why that variance has to be for 74.83 feet. And it was because of the fire, I think it was the fire code, and I don't know if you guys want to speak to that, about the distance, the length of the building. There was a reason that the building had to be that long and the size that it was. And so we just wanted to bring that to your attention as well, that if you wanted to get more information about that, then they have that information available to provide to you. So those were our concerns about the first variance. The second variance is based on strict compliance of the written ordinance, and that was from section 5.14. I think it's the third point of that section that says that pertaining specifically to a, let me pull it up so I don't misquote it. Please, thank you. Yes, point C from 5.14, that all buildings shall be, no, I'm sorry. Point A, that all vehicular ingress and egress shall be directly onto a county primary road. And in our review, we find that actually the use of Manitou Lane instead of Lapeer makes sense in this situation, that it would actually cause more of a hindrance to the traffic flow pattern and safety of the residents in that area if there was an additional drive put in to satisfy that requirement. So we recommend approval of that variance to change to adjust following the strict compliance of that 5.14A.
What did you mean when you said the building size for the code? That can't be altered or changed?
We questioned that prior, and that's something that I think the applicants can best answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Bailey, one of the things that came up when we were trying to shrink the size down is there's state codes that we have to be in compliance with for distance between windows in these facilities, and it's 20 feet between windows. And so as we shrunk everything to try and compress it, we went basically to the minimum state requirements. But when you put the facility and you get those window-to-window codes, it pushed it out. Our original plans that we submitted had it at 22 feet. The state code is 20 feet, as I stated, between the windows. And we resubmitted, we shrunk it down another foot, trying to compress it as much as possible. And the other component is also, in this type of facility, you notice we also have courtyards in the center. And we did not want to give up the courtyards for the patient care, because they need some area outside to be able to walk safely, but yet be in a controlled environment. And so that was the rationale for building compression.
And there was no way of taking the main building and stretching it and making it one large building versus the two buildings?
Was the original design, and then we figured out that the front 0.9 acres of the property was granted an easement for M24 to go through in the late 50s, so the property was significantly shorter than what we originally thought, so we had to move the memory care portion from the back of the property over to the side, which is why we bought the Oxford parcel as well. And then to Clark's point, you had to have 20 feet between the windows and the courtyards as well, so we couldn't shrink the building anymore that way either.
Okay. Okay. Any more administrator comments or everything? Okay.
I just have one. So the front part of the building is for memory care, you said. But it being so close to the road, is that any concern for the patients? I mean, being right there at all?
Great question. I apologize. I don't know your name.
Oh, my name is Sandra.
Sandra, sorry. So Sandra, great question. The front of the actual property is here.
Right,
Memory care is over here.
right,
So M24 is over here.
right,
So it's actually set back.
right.
And then the memory care is here. This portion here is not memory care.
No, I meant the memory care being so close to Manitou Drive.
It's 24 feet right there,
Okay.
so it's still quite a bit.
It's still a little bit of distance
We're
then.
going to landscape
Okay.
around it.
But in addition to that, obviously, a memory care has additional requirements for safety for
Right.
for the tenants there. And so that wouldn't change regardless of location, so that their safety is number one, as well as the communities with,
Right, okay.
you know, whether it's 60 feet away, 100 feet away, they're going to have the same requirements for everybody's safety.
And it's a locked facility, and they can only leave if they're accompanied by a caregiver or a family member.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, well, then we will move to finding of the facts and do that. Thank you. Okay. So any comments, any questions?
I don't think I have any questions, no.
Did we have anything from Lake Orion or Oxford in terms of the rezoning in our packet?
I didn't see anything, no.
I didn't see anything either, and I don't know what was decided from their standpoint.
I did the review for Orion as well.
Okay.
And they are in a office professional district. They were conditionally rezoned into an office professional district with the strict intent of this use being used, of this being the use that's allowed on the property. And they, through a conditional rezoning, they put in their, submitted their conditions that were pretty strict conditions, that if they don't go through with building this property and creating this facility, the property will revert to the prior zoning. So they, by the nature of that, will adhere to their own standards or else.
And is there a time frame on that?
I think it's a year.
Is it
Yeah, I don't
maybe 12
know off the top of my head, but I believe that it's.
And is there any variance from the Lake Orion Township?
So the building crosses both in Oxford, the south property line and in Orion, the north. And so the variance would be in both communities for that. However, that's being worked into the interlocal agreement that's being crafted between communities. And that's ongoing, that hasn't been executed yet. There's a meeting this Thursday with the supervisors and with the team to put that together. So that will be part of that interlocal agreement. The elimination of that setback as well, without a variance.
Without a variance? And so that hasn't been decided?
It hasn't been decided, but that is one of the many intricacies of the interlocal agreement. Much kind of bigger pieces are in play with, the water and the utilities and emergency services, and all of those are being taken into consideration. And before that is adopted and accepted by both communities, attorneys will review and give approval, and there's a lot that's going into that.
Yeah, and I'm just not familiar with Lake Orions personally, so I would like to see theirs prior to making, a statement from the Oxford side, just so we're together in the variance. I don't know what the rest of the board here feels, but we want to be, like you said, together in this decision.
They were approved for the conditional rezoning.
They were already.
They were, yeah.
I'm sorry, I guess I do have a question. Why the separation of the memory care in a completely different building? I mean, because that takes up a lot of the space where you're having to have a variance.
Unique patient care, welfare of the patients, if they have different needs.
They can't just do that
They
with
can't
the
be
hallway.
correct. They just can't be commingled in a hallway. There's different security requirements and the actual living conditions of, somebody. Think of it as, your grandmother doesn't have any cognitive issues at all, and then her adjoining suite mate does, and it's not a healthy. That's the reason for the
I
separation.
understand that, and actually went through all of that with my own mother, but just by joining the wall together, and having a solid wall there, to me, it just seems like you wouldn't have that space, and then you wouldn't need such a large variance.
And the other issue is the, every unit has to have a window, and then it has, so they would eliminate the windows,
Yeah.
state requirement.
All right.
Well, that was,
I had a question too on the ingress regress with the strict compliance of going to a county road. Was it the planning recommendation to not adhere to that and go out to Manitou, or to adhere to the strict compliance?
The Planning Commission's recommendation, it was, so they actually didn't, I'm trying to remember what the minutes say, they don't make a recommendation on that. That is what the zoning ordinance says. So that's up to you to either basically waive that through a variance or to not, and to adhere to it. So adhering to the strict compliance would be saying, no, we can't do that. It has to come off of a county road. But allowing the variance would be essentially waiving that requirement in the ordinance. And I will say, Orion has a similar ordinance that doesn't say it doesn't say a county road, it says a primary road. And so the Planning Commission, because of the difference in language, the Planning Commission was able to waive that without them requiring a variance of the applicant. So, and the Planning Commission did waive that.
They did waive it.
They did,
Okay.
yeah.
I believe that the line goes right through that Manitou Lane.
It does,
right?
yeah.
It does, so.
It enters on the applicant's property and then continues on and
Yes.
services a number of developments back
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Okay. And, I was, asking because there's some considerations with site distance, like you mentioned, and
Right.
some additional signage, as well as it's a private road where maintenance is a concern, as well as, we did have a letter in here from the Oxford Fire, right? department as well. So there would be some considerations with that, with the decision that we would make tonight. So just wanted to make sure that we were all clear on that.
Yeah.
One other question I had is, have they looked at or the concern of traffic on Manitou? I know there aren't that many houses back there, but with 24 being a parking lot during rush hour, now the people that are coming at the back of this private road are now going to be sitting in whatever's coming in and out of this building. I don't know how much is going to be coming in and out. And at the end of the road, there's a pretty good open area, which is a current bus stop, and you have several cars in the morning that are parked there, dropping off, picking up their kids, which all of that will be eliminated from the looks of it. Is any of that been in discussion?
I don't believe any of the, width of passing lanes, is that what you're talking about? At the beginning of Manitou Lane at Lapeer
Right.
is going to be eliminated? I don't believe so. They are repaving 575
75 feet.
feet of the road
Okay.
from Lapeer, and then 575 feet back to assist the use of that road. There is, like we said in our review, there is concern that that there is a sight distance issue possibly with people pulling out of the facility. But being as though maybe close to 100% of that traffic would be turning right to go on down to Lapeer Road. And so it would be drivers coming down from Settlement of Manitou further would be the concern. I mean, that concern could be, eased by an additional road sign, or, some sort of traffic calming technique to slow traffic down, because it is 25 through there, so really cars should be going slow.
Right.
Where it would be safe.
But with the way the road is, I mean, there isn't any thought of the bus stop.
No, so there was discussion with the planning commission about the bus stop, and that is up to the school board designates where, or I'm not exactly sure who designates where the bus stops are, but I know that they have moved.
Transportation.
So, I don't know that is the best spot for the bus stop, and I know that there was concern by the residents of that neighborhood about that bus stop. So that might be a larger issue. I don't know, but that is, same thing, traffic calming. If we can slow traffic down there, that would be probably the biggest concern that we can solve.
Okay.
In terms of logical sense on a private road, I mean, there's a consideration of maintenance. Has there been any discussion?
Yes.
Of private road?
There has been. So let me start with, obviously, by going back, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Manitou Road or have been on it recently, and that the road is in pretty ill repair at this point.
Yeah.
And I know that the residents that use it, the church, and the apartments, obviously, this would be a large enhancement for everybody for safety. We would also be adding curbing on that it does not have today. And at our planning commission, we had a homeowner that, brought up a great question about salt and ice, and besides the additional drainage that we're putting in, which would obviously help with the icing as well, the curbing, we're going to enter into a maintenance agreement for that private road that the parties are all going to be privy to. That was, I believe, one of our conditions in our first preliminary site approval, the condition that we would ultimately have a maintenance agreement, which we're currently working on that, just working out the percentages of who would do what for that. But long story short is, yes, it'd be a pretty nice enhancement. If I may we would see signage going in for traffic calming to be a good enhancement. I didn't see any traffic signs at all on the road currently. So sometimes when there isn't signage there, residents and everybody just pick their own speed. So I would be in favor of doing that. I would ask the planner to maybe make a recommendation or thought on, when I get into speed bumps, I start thinking about long-term plowing in that for, is it really the best solution? I would try and avoid that if possible and add the signage.
Yeah, I will add that this variance is the second step in getting final site plan approval with the township, and they go back to the planning commission on Thursday for their final site plan. And one of the conditions of that the planning commission put on their preliminary approval, like he said, is that the easement maintenance agreement is executed between all parties concerned with the road. So that will be part of, if it's not executed by Thursday, it will be a condition of the, I assume it will be, not on the planning commission, but I assume that it will be a condition of their approval. Yeah.
And we have been working, obviously, with this inter-municipality agreement with both fire chiefs, getting their feedback and input through this whole process. And I believe, and certainly correct me if I'm wrong on this, they too are in favor of not having it off M24 just for getting emergency vehicles in and out. It was a better egress and ingress being off the private road as well.
I just wondered if any of the residents that are here would like to comment about the speed on Manitou and if they think it's an issue or...
It may be worth it.
You can get killed. I live off the dirt road.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have any final board member questions or comments before we go through the finding of facts? Okay. All right. All right, so what we're going to do is go through item C, standards. Neither the non-conforming use of neighborhood land structures or buildings in the same district, nor either permitted or non-conforming use of land structure or buildings in any other district shall be considered grounds for the issuance of a variance. In reviewing a request for variance, the following standards for determining practical difficulty shall be considered, with no single factor being determinative. So, number one, strict compliance with restrictions governing area, setback, frontage, height, bulk, density, or other non-use matters will unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for a permitted purpose or will render ordinance conformity unnecessarily burdensome. Remember thoughts? Does this apply?
I think it applies. I mean, we're looking at both the ingress and egress of the entry to a private drive as well as the 74.83 variance setback. And we're looking at two different townships as well as some other considerations with contingent legal documents. I think it does apply.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So number one, we feel it applies. Number two, the variance will do substantial justice to the applicant as well as other property owners.
That applies as well. I feel you have an undeveloped parcel there as well. Can you hear me now? I feel like I'm Verizon or something. So I believe that applies just with the uniqueness of the property we're dealing with.
I would agree with that. Number 3, a lesser variance than requested will not give substantial relief to the applicant and will not be more consistent with justice to other property owners.
Have you a comment on that one?
Sure, why not?
I think it applies as well. When we were looking at different areas of the property with the building size and the restrictions that they are set in the compression of the building as well, and I believe that that item does apply, and they've done their best to keep within those rules and regulations that they have to follow.
Yeah, that was one of my concerns at the beginning, was why we couldn't shrink the building or move it, but the safety issue, the state requirements kind of prohibit all that, so. Any thoughts?
I agree.
Number 4, the need for the variance is due to the unique circumstances peculiar to the property and not generally applicable in the area or to other properties in the same zoning district.
It is unique to this piece of property. But, I don't know where you go from there.
Yeah, it is unique. It is unique, and it doesn't really apply to other properties.
Right.
I agree. It is definitely unique.
Okay. All right, and number 5, the problem and resulting need for the variance has not been self-created by the applicant and/or the applicant's predecessors.
I think it has been created by the applicant. I mean, they could have designed this anyway, made it smaller, put the memory care on one hallway and closed off to everything else. It could have changed a lot, but, so I do think it is self-created.
Right.
Well, if it was a different for use, right? I could see that being a different situation. In this situation, I think it would apply because they're trying to develop this land with this particular unit. So it is self-created under their own development, but it is unique to those parcels.
Any other comments or questions?
I did have one more question on the setback for 7483 variance. That's contingent upon the 60-foot measurement, not the 66, which we're taking the center line of that
Correct.
easement. Okay, so we need that to be able to get the 7483.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
That change in width of the setback has to be executed before that's,
So we'll want to
the
note
township
that.
attorney has to review that, yeah.
Okay. And then,
Is that true?
So is that,
May I mention something? On that setback, our attorney said, since it's only on our property, we're the only signer, so it's officially been changed. I know the township attorney is reviewing it, but it's officially been changed. It's legally done.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we have to review, or that we're having the township attorney review, is that it's on your property, but there are so many other properties that pertains to, that she needs to review it.
And yeah, I know we've went over this quite a bit. We were originally going to have other people sign it. But once the other attorneys from the other entities and our attorney discussed it, they all agreed that, you know what, it's only affecting your property, so only you actually have to sign that easement, because it's only changing on our property. I know that's not exactly your...
It's not no. I think the
That's
biggest
what-
thing too would be that she would do the investigation, maybe is the wrong word, but she would look into the fact that if that were written into other people's deeds, that easement, that anyone that affected on their property, now that I know that it's not in their property,
Right.
but that the easement agreement, if it were written in there, that it would need to be changed as well, and
Yeah, and the attorney said if there was an issue, that they could sue for damages, and they would have to prove a damage.
yeah, and I
ability
don't
not to
think, I
use
mean, I
it.
think the way that you're, like I said, I am not an attorney.
Yeah, I'm not
Let
either.
me say that again. And the way that that it is written as to, go with the land and that it affects, it remains that way for all, I don't foresee an issue with that, but that is something that we're waiting on for it to be, because I'm a planner, I can't review it and say that it's, yes, correct and legal.
May I just add to that? While the document has been executed, it does need to be reviewed, and it would be contingent, all of these things. Our final site approval and all of that, I suspect, will be contingent upon the maintenance agreement being finalized and this easement agreement being reviewed by the township attorneys. So while it has been executed and it's in the packet already, I think it will be contingent before. It hasn't been filed with the county yet. And so it would be contingent upon.
Right.
And this board's vote, I could see being contingent upon those things also being done in concert with your decision as well.
So whatever motion we put in, we will want to make it contingent.
Makes logical sense, huh?
Yep. Okay, any more questions or comments, or? And then one question I have is, are these the same items, or will we need separate motion, separate voting for each item?
If we can put them together.
You can
Put 'em together.
Yeah, they refer to the same section.
Okay.
Even though it is two different variances.
Okay. Okay, well, and with that, I guess I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion regarding ZBA 010.18, parcel 0435300015, applicant Conscious Senior Living Properties 2 LLC, doing business as Grace Premier Senior Living based on the finding of facts to approve a setback variance of 74.83 feet on the north side of the parcel, and that the granting of this variance be contingent upon the township attorney review of the adjustment and recording of the reduced easement measurement in the property deed. In addition, granting the approval of this variance to provide relief to the county road access, ingress and egress to a county road requirement of section 5.14.
Second.
Based on the findings of facts and our discussion in our packet approval with our prints and discussed here today.
Okay. We have a second. Any discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote?
Walters,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Payne, yes, Birch.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
With that, you have your variance. Contingent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to make you proud. We're going to build an amazing building and community where we're going to make sure everyone in the building feels loved, listened to, and understood. And I'm going to be the executive director, and I'm going to make sure that happens. And I grew up right here in Oxford. So it's mom and dads are getting to be that age, and I can't let them down. And thank you so much. It was very important tonight, and I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And with that, I will turn the gavel back over to Mr. Butler.
Moving on to item number 9, board member comments. Any comments from board?
Nothing from
Margie? Corey?
Yeah.
Callie, any board member comments?
You did great.
Sandra, anything?
Mr. Bailey, you did great.
No, I
Thank you.
they
I think there's an election in his future. Good second. He makes a very good second. Sandra, thank you for this evening. Hope you
You're welcome.
did well. Yes, you asked questions. You didn't. Most people usually sit here and say nothing. First time around, we looked gun shy.
That was my question.
Yeah. Do I ask
I had a
questions?
question.
The only bad questions were not asked.
Exactly. All right, moving on to item number 10, adjournment. A motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're done.